We have 16 prospects who could get the call in September. We'll discuss on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Saturday, August 31st, the final day of August. Here we are, 1 month left in the season. I am Frank Samfeld, joined by Scott White. And here are 16 prospects who could get the call in September. We'll do these in groups of 4. And the first group includes Jason Dominguez of the Yankees, Roman Anthony of the Red Sox, Kobe Mayo of the Orioles, and Quinn Matthews of the Cardinals.
So we've talked about Dominguez and Mayo a lot. I'm going to highlight here Roman Anthony, who is only 20 years old. And of course, when I say they could get the call in September, it doesn't mean they will. But if they do, these would be among the most impactful players in fantasy. And I think Anthony, with his performance since the All-Star break, has really earned a place in that discussion, even though he's only 20. And since moving up to AAA, which happened recently, the numbers have only gotten better. He's hitting long home runs. He's showing good plate discipline. And I think he's entered the best prospect in baseball conversation with the way he's gone here. So do the Red Sox give him an audition for a job next spring? I think it's possible. And same goes for Quinn Matthews of the Cardinals, left-handed pitcher, probably the biggest riser among pitching prospects this year. He's already dominated low A, high A, double A, just got promoted to triple A. And I don't think the Cardinals would bother to do that unless they were eyeing him for a late season debut. They probably just let him finish out at double A. They promoted him to triple A. He kind of reminds me of Cole Hamels in his delivery, but he throws harder. He's got a great changeup like Hamels did. And good control pitcher, too. I think Quinn Matthews has entered the best pitching prospect discussion.
The next group includes Matt Shaw of the Cubs, Christian Campbell of the Red Sox, Bubba Chandler of the Pirates, and Davison De Los Santos of the Marlins.
So Matt Shaw was a first-round pick last year who started to be mentioned in the same breath as the big names, the Wyatt Langfords and the Dylan Crews, this past offseason for the strong impression he made after the draft. Got off to a slow start this year, but his come on like gangbusters here over the past couple months, now at AAA. The only issue with Matt Shaw is the Cubs just acquired Isaac Paredes to play third base. That's the position it seemed like Shaw was going to debut at. But he can play second base. He can play shortstop. He might get a shot as like a utility player down the stretch with the way he's been performing. Christian Campbell's becoming a personal favorite of mine. He might be, if Quinn Matthews is the biggest riser among pitching prospects, Campbell might be among hitting prospects. And he has gone from high A to triple A. His numbers improving at every stop. Power has been what's really emerged for him this year, but he has good contact skills, high batting average, steals bases, just looks great all the way around as Christian Campbell, and can play both spots up the middle, which is where the Red Sox are the weakest.
Next group includes Dalton Rushing of the Dodgers, Chase DeLauder of the Guardians, Jacob Misiorowski of the Brewers, and Jordan Walker of the Cardinals.
Walker, of course, technically not a prospect anymore, but not an established minor leaguer, and there have been some interesting mechanical changes for him. Chase DeLauder, remember, he almost won a job, or at least was pushing to win a job in the outfield this spring. Then he ended up missing most of the first half with a couple of foot injuries, but he has come back looking like the grade A hitter we knew him to be. And the Guardians still have room for another outfielder, so I think Chase DeLauder could get a look. Jacob Misiorowski of the Brewers is a starting pitching prospect who struggled to throw strikes. Since moving him up to AAA, they've used him out of the bullpen, I think clearly, to audition him for a roll down the stretch. 1 hit allowed in 10 1/3 innings at the time of this recording, so he's thriving in the bullpen. Obviously wouldn't be much use to in fantasy out of the bullpen, but I think if Misiorowski has success there down the stretch, I think it gives him it puts him on an inside track to compete for a rotation spot next year.
And the last group includes Jonathan Aranda of the Tampa Bay Rays, Chase Madrith of the Red Sox, Nick York of the Pirates, and Colby Thomas of the A's. Peek behind the curtain. I cannot tell you how excited Scott was to talk about Jonathan Aranda for maybe the 100th time since I've known him.
I think he's so good. Remember, he was in line to win the DH job for the Rays this spring. Then he broke his finger. and recovered from that, looked terrible after returning between the minors and majors. The strikeout rate was way up. It was just weird. He didn't seem like the same guy even. Strained his oblique, had some more time to recover, and now has recently come back here just in the last week and has gone 10 for 23 with 4 homers, striking out only 3 times. That's the Jonathan Aranda I remember. The Rays has dealt away a lot of talent this year and have ways to work Aranda into the lineup. Technically not a prospect like Jordan Walker, who's already used up his eligibility, but at 26, they got to see if they have something in Jonathan Aranda, and I think that time is now.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.